Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Small Town Tourist Podcast, where we experience and explore everything that makes small towns great. I'm your host, Abby, and today on the podcast, I'm actually going to be the guest on my own podcast. Well, kind of, sort of. What I'm going to do today is actually share with you the audio from my friend, cousin, and client's podcast. We are going to be hanging out with Megan May today, and she's going to be interviewing me. Now, this is an episode of her podcast, the Megan May Podcast, and we just kind of deep dive into me, essentially, which is strange to say. Like, I understand I'm a podcast host. There's some level of narcissism there, but it's definitely a weird feeling going from being the host of a show to being the guest on a show. And I really loved this episode. I really loved Megan's podcast. I am so blessed to get to work with her on it. And I just want to share it with my audience as well. So please enjoy our time interviewing me, kind of, sort of, through Megan May on the Small Town Tourist Podcast.
Hey friend, I'm Megan, and this is the Megan May Podcast. In this space, I'm going to be cutting the small talk, and we are going to be digging deep into marriage, relationships, mom life, adoption, and believing in who you are made to be and how much you matter in this world. All with adding a little bit of Jesus into the mix. Most importantly, I want you to know that you are welcome here exactly as you are. Let's learn and grow together and hold on tight, because here we go. Hey, welcome back, you guys. I am pretty pumped about our guest that we have today. You may know her, you may not. You may have heard her in the background through some of my podcasts. And she has just been kind of my saving grace in this last year of keeping me accountable for hosting a podcast. And I am excited to talk with her today because, you guys, she is a yes girl. And when I say a yes girl, I am not talking about the people pleasing, like, I'm going to say yes, even if I don't really want to, like, because I don't want to make you mad. She is like, hey, can you do this? And she's like, yeah, let's figure it out. Everything is figure outable. She just has just this amazing drive, and she thinks outside of the box. And so for those of you who are like, I feel a little odd in my family, or I feel a little unique, like my brain ticks differently, I think a little outside of the box, I'm doing things that aren't quite part of the normal, I feel like this podcast is going to be for you. And so I am excited because today we are going to interview my podcast host, Abby. And she's actually a distant cousin of mine, but I actually didn't even hardly know her other than the typical holidays, and not even that, because our grandmas are our sisters. And so it wasn't until I seen an Instagram post by her that she likes editing podcasts. I don't even know what post it was, but I was like, hey, I actually know you. Can you help me? And of course, her answer was yes. When should we start? And I needed that. I needed her. And so I have been with Abby for the last year. We hit season 2 together, which she just informed me today that I am the 3%.
So you're like in the top 3% of podcasters based on statistics alone of people who start podcasts.
Yeah. So that was kind of fun. Made it to season 2. Made it past the 3rd episode, right?
Yeah. So how they calculate that you're in the top 3% of podcasters is for everyone who starts a podcast, it's very rare that they make it past episode 3 because they don't understand the workload that it takes.
Yep.
And then for everyone who makes it past episode 3, the next thing that they don't pass is episode 20. So you made it past episode 20, so you are in the top 3% of podcasters.
So that was exciting. So I am excited to chat with Abby today and to share her with you. So hi, Abby.
Hi.
Thanks for popping on. When she was like, who do you have for interviews today? I'm like, I think you. So we are going unscripted. But Abby, take us back a little bit about yourself and just a little bit about you.
Well, yeah, it's like, where do I start? For context, how I know you in like my memories is you were the flower girl in my mom's wedding.
Yes, I was.
Like that's in my whole life. It's like, oh, Megan, your cousin, the one that was a flower girl in mom and dad's wedding. Like that was
Yes.
Megan in my brain. But yeah, so grew up in Long Prairie and both my parents are from there. So no one left. We were all just there, which was nice growing up because then all of your family is super close too. It's
Yep.
pretty rare for people to leave that town. So really strong family values growing up. We just do everything together even to this day. What made me kind of the black sheep of that is I did leave. I went to the cities for college. I found my passion in life really early. I was very blessed in that sense. I was obsessed with listening to the radio, like obsessed with the radio. I could tell you what DJ was on at what time on KCLD. I could tell you what top songs were playing on the top 5 at 9. Like I loved the
take
radio.
me back.
Right? Yes. So I realized in high school, I'm like, I want to be a radio DJ. And that's not a very popular job choice. Most people were
No.
like, I'm going for business. I'm going
Yes.
for psychology. And I'm like,
Yes.
I'm going to be a radio DJ. Mind you, I'm in like the top 10 of my class, like grades wise. Like I got potential to do smart people
Yep.
things. And I'm like, I'm going to go mash buttons and talk into a microphone.
I love it. I love it. So you did.
I did. Yeah, so I found my passion and went to Brown College in Mendota Heights, which is down by the airport in Bloomington.
Okay.
Now, this college, the first time I went to look at it, it was still Brown College. The second time I went to look at it a couple months later, they were changing the sign out front, and it said Sanford Brown College. It had been bought by a medical company.
Okay.
They got bought out by Sanford Medical out of Fargo. They added a nursing program. So now my radio school that is literally made for making radio DJs, half the building is dedicated to creating nurses.
Okay.
Odd concept. Should have been my first red flag. It wasn't. I'm just like, this is my school. I'm going
Yep.
here. So I luckily had a lot of my generals done in high school for college because I'm like, well, I'm going to save some money, get all these credits done. I only had to be in my 18-month program for 9 months.
Okay.
So I expedited through it. And the last month of me being in college, we all got an email saying, hey, this college is shutting down.
Oh my gosh.
You can finish. You're still going to get a degree, but like don't fail anything because you can't retake it.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So I was one of the last people to graduate from Brown College, which is like notorious for making some of the best top DJ talent in the nation.
Okay.
So glad I went when I did.
Yep.
But one of my 10-year goals was when I first moved down to the cities, because I thought from Long Prairie, I'm like, there's nothing for me here. I'm going to go live in Minneapolis. I'm going to be a cities kid. And I'm like, 10-year goal, I want to work on 93X. That was my dream station.
Okay.
I was raised on 80s rock. Like, that's what I wanted to do. 93X was the it station.
Yes.
They hired me right away, like right out of college. So then I did overnights on 93X. I was crackhead Abby because I worked the crackhead hours. And then they found out I was from the middle of nowhere because I was talking about going home for hunting season. And I was bleach blonde at that point, like Slim Shady bleach blonde.
I love it.
And then they're like, oh, you're like a backwoods Barbie. So then I went from crackhead Abby to backwoods Barbie.
Totally makes sense.
Totally makes sense. And
Yep.
then it was just a lot to be living in the cities when you're making $7 an hour to work at your dream job. Like you just don't pay the bills.
Right.
So I was working 4 jobs at that time, doing the radio. I was working for an auto shop. I was working for Lifetime Fitness. I was working for a print shop, sometimes all in one day.
Oh my gosh.
Just to like get by. And then a full-time job opened in St. Cloud working on 98.1, which was my other dream station because growing up in central Minnesota, it's
The country.
you either like 98.1 comes in everywhere.
Yes,
that
it
is,
does.
It's a
It
guaranteed station that will come in your dad's shop radio.
Yes.
So like that was like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. I'm going to apply. Well, I ended up getting the job there, and that's where I worked for 7 years and had some of the best years of my life. It was amazing. I turned 21 working at that station. Like I was very young,
Yes, you were.
and it was a wild ride, and I learned so much. But then the time came where I wasn't making money there either, because what no one tells you is radio DJs don't make anything.
Well, they do if you don't want to live.
If you don't want anything in life.
Yes.
Like, for context, at one point I was getting paid in burritos and ice cream, and I have a dairy allergy.
Well, they probably, when you're in high school and they're like, assessing you of like what you're going to be good at, that probably wasn't even on the radar, was a DJ to even give you,
no
or
one
a radio
suggests
DJ
doing that.
Right. No. It's like, here's, we actually don't know what you're going to make a year doing this. So
Yeah, just
there you go.
Go forth.
Yep. Go
Be
forth.
free.
Yes. Little free bird.
So yeah, I came to the point of like, okay, well, I can't pay my bills anymore, because I was, again, like, I've always been kind of a workaholic. Even when my dad moved me into college, he met my roommates. He's like, you probably won't see her much. She's a workaholic. Like, that's just always been what I've been. So I was working a bunch of jobs, burning myself out, and I ended up taking a county position, which, when you work at a radio station and everything is fun and games and concerts and goofy jokes, and then going to government,
Little bit different.
180.
Yes.
Complete 180. So that wasn't the right fit for me. It was a great group of people. I learned a lot at that job as well, but it just wasn't the right fit. And luckily, I did find my current right fit while I was working that county job. So right when I quit at the radio station, there was a rule in our employee handbook saying that you could not have a podcast if you were a active DJ with the company.
Okay.
So the second I quit, I'm like, okay, well, I still need to keep this skill set up. And the best way to do that is for a podcast. So I started a podcast that I had an idea of for the past 5 years. I was running it as just an online blog at that time called The Small Town Tourist.
Okay.
Which is just my way of writing stories, sharing stories of interesting people, places, and events all across small towns in central Minnesota primarily. So I took that blog, turned it into a podcast, and within my first few guests, I had my friend Liz, who was also my doctor at the time.
Okay.
She was running a flower farm in St. Joseph and just had this incredible story of resilience after losing her husband unexpectedly. And I had her on my podcast, shared the story, cut the mics. We just looked at each other for a beat, and she's like, so I need a podcast, right? And I'm like, yeah, duh. And so I helped her launch her podcast very shortly after launching my own.
Okay.
And from there, just more people found out, oh, you know how to make podcasts. Can you help me make my podcast just like you?
Yeah.
Like, literally the day you texted me, my other long-term client, Amanda Radke, texted me too. She's like, hey, I heard you make podcasts. Can you help me?
Yeah. And I think that's, on our end of it too. Like, I think you are someone who, from doing the radio too, the buttons and the editing, and all that stuff. And for me, I've talked about a podcast for a couple years, but what has always stopped me was I don't want to edit. I don't want to deal with, the technology side of it. Like, I can talk to anything, but like sitting and figuring that out is always what stopped me. It seemed too overwhelming for me.
And that's where I've kind of found this lane that I really fit well into, of being that person who can provide the hard skills needed to do a podcast. And I like sitting behind the soundboard. I like editing things on my laptop. I like making the social media elements to promote it. And I like that my clients get to have the ideal fun part of hosting a podcast.
Right.
Like, you guys get to do what you think podcasting is, which is talking to people.
Right.
Holding a microphone, sharing stories. Like, you guys get to do all that and then just hand it off to me.
Yes.
And I've found so much joy in that.
And you can tell because, there's so many times where like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a disaster, or this is not going as good, or whatever. And I just like your passion in what you do, like totally shines to like me recording, like you give me the confidence. You're like, you're good. And there are times where I will leave recording with you and be like, oh my gosh, none of those are going to work. And I get them back and they're just like, they're together. They're good. They're, airable.
Yeah. I have so I have 8 podcasts I make in a given week now for clients. And I have never had a single one where it's like, this is not good. This is unusable.
Sure.
Like, unless the file is corrupt in some way.
Sure.
They're all usable. We can make something out of nothing. I once wrote a story about a rock that got 20,000 clicks. Like, I can make anything happen.
I love it. I'm a girl on a mission to spread a whole lot of joy out in this world, and that happens to come in the form of shippable gift boxes. I have a website called You Matter Boutique, full of the most adorable and meaningful gift boxes. It is heavily catered to adoptive moms, foster moms, adoptees, birth moms, or a mom, any type of mom, or really anyone that just feels they need a little pick-me-up and to help them feel how much they matter in this world. So head on over to youmatterboutique.com and send a gift box to someone special today. I have a new job title, published author. Yep, that's right. I wrote a book. I know, I'm as shocked as you are. It's officially out, and it's called From Zero to Four. It's about my journey of stepping into a life that I did not plan. So if you're interested in hearing about my heart, my soul, and my testimony, you can find it on Amazon or my website at www.youmatterboutique.com. And if you want an easier way of finding it, check out the show notes. The links will be right there for you to check it out. I poured my heart and soul into this, and it was possibly one of the hardest things I've ever done. So go check it out. I think you're going to love it. So, okay, going back to you clearly think outside of the box, right? Like, and I get it. And I think that's where I found this new relationship with Abby, because I think outside the box too. And actually my brother and I both do. And you kind of think like something's wrong with you, you know, and I say like, I'm literally the mom of 4 kids. I'm hitting 40 in a few-ish years, and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And to many of my family members, it can come across as a little bit of embarrassing. Like, I don't know what Megan's doing. I never know what she's going to be doing, you know, and I think that's just like a generational mindset too, of like, you should just go to school, work the same job,
collect your pension,
pay the bills, like be responsible,
never move, stay in the same house forever.
Yes. And, you know, and I know that's not for everyone, but if you are in a small town, you probably can really relate to this episode. How do you mentally, I guess, prepare yourself for those, you know, the feedback that you might receive, whether that's to your face or behind your back, but like of just, like you said, being the black sheep?
So I think initially when I started kind of doing my own thing and working multiple jobs and all that, I would get kind of so what are you doing? And at first that kind of hurt, because I feel like I do post quite a bit online. Like, it's no secret what I'm up to on any given day.
Right.
But once I kind of, like, once my frontal lobe developed when I turned 25, I realized for the most part, people are genuinely interested, because I don't do the conventional 9 to 5, show up at an office, sit at my gray cubicle and go home. People genuinely are like, what are you doing? Like, I'm interested.
Like, it's not a bad question.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a bad question. And for most of the time I answer, that's a good question. Yes. Because what am I doing?
It's a loaded question.
But like, now I'm in such a good place with my first 2 months of full-time self-employment.
Yep.
I mean, been self-employed like in some capacity for a very long time, but this is my full-time gig now. And I feel really good sharing with people, I'm living out my dream.
Yeah.
I'm doing exactly what I want to do. It's scary.
Yes.
I haven't had my full first tax time.
Yep.
So it's going to get scarier.
Yes.
But I'm literally following my passions, because life is so damn short.
It is.
I'm not going to sit and do something I hate.
Yes.
Because that sucks. It just makes you bitter.
And I think, like, you know, there are seasons of, I mean, I've been in my non-ideal jobs or non-ideal positions, and, you know, every season is learning. Every season is getting you closer to hopefully where you want to go, right? Because life is short. And I think too, like, you are, I have to say, you are one of my favorite people to text, because it's like, when we're trying to figure out like a recording date, it's like, hey, what are you up to? And it is like, oh, I'm golfing on this day. I'm doing this. I'm DJing here. It's like so loaded that I'm like, I am never shocked by what she's going to respond back to me.
Well, now we're getting into fall, so it's various hunting seasons.
Sure,
so
yes.
brace for impact on that.
Like she was telling me she's getting her bear food out of the freezer.
Bear baiting starts today.
Bear baiting starts today.
Yeah.
And I know this will air a little bit down the road. We're in end of August. But bear baiting starts today. FYI.
Yep.
Like that's literally like, and I love it because there are people, of course, out there that are passionate, that love I work my job. I work the 9 to 5. I love that I don't like someone thinks about things for me. You know, this is what I need to do. And I mean, I have met some of the most passionate people who work at the gas station. I have met passionate people who work in an office setting, like love their job, love what they do, love that they get to come home, you know, at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock and totally do what they want to do without.
Right.
I think, you know, entrepreneur brain or thinking outside of the box requires a lot of brain power.
Yes.
Constantly. And it's a constant battle of like turning it on, turning it off.
Yes.
Like, so I think so too. And I think, you know, when you say too of like the comments of like, what are you doing? You know, I know my daughter did a PowerPoint on our family and she was like, I didn't know what to put for you, Mom, of like what you do. And I think 10 years ago, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I'm so weird or I'm so crazy or, you know, and now I'm like, hey girl, that's okay. I was so like, that's fine. I don't know what I'm doing. Why would I expect you to know what you're doing? You know, I'm just trucking through life, trying to be obedient to what I feel is my passion and purpose.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wanted to be a whale trainer when you wanted to be a radio DJ,
Yeah,
you know?
I mean,
So it's like, I did not figure out that passion right away or what I thought I did. But yeah, every stepping stone, county job and all, like got you closer to where you want to be. And I remember being a part, I was so honored to be a part of you while you were busting at the seams, working this full-time job, trying to get out on your own. And that is hard.
Yeah, you witnessed one of my breakdowns.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Did I tell you what I did after that?
No,
We went and watched the Barbie movie. Have you seen the
Okay.
Barbie movie?
I have not.
Okay, well, the whole point of the Barbie movie is not knowing what your purpose is in life.
Okay.
So like, this was, oh God, it was late July last year, right?
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. So I was like literally like breakdown on my parents' driveway, like losing my ever living life about not knowing what I was doing with my
Yep.
life. And then we went to watch the dang Barbie movie at the drive-in. And I'm sitting there like having this full-on breakdown dressed as Cowboy Barbie at the drive-in.
You would be.
Oh yeah, I made everyone
Yep.
dress up. We had to
Yep.
make a TikTok.
Yeah.
So
Love you.
So I'm like sitting there having a breakdown as Cowboy Barbie as my cousin is dressed as Groovy Barbie next to me. And my mom is dressed as like, I don't know what I had her in, like every pink thing that I owned. And my dad is in his captain's hat Barbie. And I'm like, ah. But yeah, and I like, but honestly, like from that breakdown, it made me take action because
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we're not doing this again.
Yes.
Like, figure your life out, take the next step, do the scary thing,
Yes.
and make what you want to do happen.
Yes.
Because
I
no one's
think-
going to do it for you.
Exactly. I remember sitting and staring at a sign saying, be the change you wish to see in the world. And you want other people to make the decision for you. Like there was a point for me too. I wanted somebody to say, give me permission to leave this job. Give me permission to think outside the box. Give me permission to say it's okay to be weird. It's okay to be crazy. Like I was praying for somebody else to give me permission to do it, to avoid the judgment of others. Like, and then when that sign hit me where I was like, nobody will change my life but me. Nobody is going to, I'm like, I'm not a tree. I can move. I can move. And what's worst case scenario? What's worst case scenario? I'm always going to have the work ethic to provide for my family. Like I'm going to pay my bills. Like I'm a worker. I think if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be a worker because you have to be so self-disciplined in working. But also when you work on your own passion, it is not work.
It doesn't feel like work.
It doesn't feel like work. You're learning and you're growing and all the things. And so I guess if you are feeling a little bit weird, like you're not going to get permission from others. You're not going to get the validation that you need from somebody just walking in your door saying, you need to do this weird thing. It's the action that is probably the hardest thing. But once you take that first action, it just leads to, you took the first action of like recording a podcast with the girl.
Yeah.
Which led you to, I'll help you with your own podcast, which led you to, I'll help you too. And then pretty soon I'm like, what are you doing now? And you're like, oh, I'm helping this guy with his website. Oh, I'm helping this. I'm doing this. Like, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm like all the things. And it's just the action that stops the majority of the people.
Yeah. You just got to get the ball rolling.
You just got to get the ball rolling.
It'll
and
go
then
from
it will
there.
keep going, you know, and you'll know if you're not quite on the right path, but you're going to get there, you know? And so, yeah, I just love it. And I feel like people are going to relate to you because there's a lot of weirdos out there.
Yeah. Keep
There
it weird,
is.
man.
Keep it weird. And, you know, it's so crazy because for me, like, I always thought I was different. And it took my grandpa dying of cancer to have the conversation about, like, and truly dig deep into his past about all the crazy adventures he did. And my grandma's sitting there and she's like, yes, Gary, when you bought that dump truck, that was stupid. But we hauled garbage because we could haul garbage for cheaper than these people haul
Exactly.
garbage. And then pretty soon he decided to do this. And then and I was like, oh my gosh, you were weird too. Why did it take, like, this is where I get it from.
Swede was a goofy guy.
So, you know, ultimately, you're not weird because it came from somewhere, you know, right? He never shared all of that until he was dying. And like, I was so thankful. That will be forever a thankful conversation because I was like, I am normal. Like, I am normal in my own way.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool, you know, and my dad, he'll always say he's the black sheep of the family too. And I think like some people can be like, that's a bad term. I'm like, good for you. And I hope, you know, even now raising 4 kids myself, you know, I'm not going to put them in the same box. They're not meant to be. My gosh, they're so different. But I am going to try to have them hone in on like what I feel, you know, they are good at because they're not going to be the same.
You got to follow those passions.
You have to. And that could lead you to be a teacher and it could lead you to running your own business. It could, you know, you never know. And
one of your kids could be a whale trainer.
they could
How full
be.
circle
Oh
would
my
that
gosh,
that'd
would
be
that
amazing.
cool? Here it was my original passion, but I get to just go watch them in a tank with a massive whale
And worry the whole time.
and worry the whole time. Right? Like, how cool, right? So yeah, I think it's cool. And I think also, you know, like you said, the maturity comes where you start, you know, maybe originally were offended by the question. And now you're like, I genuinely think people are interested, which is a really cool shift of perspective.
And I really hope that it does inspire people. Like, no matter what the age, even my own parents, I'm like, do what you want.
Right.
And they're thinking like retirement, like we need to do what we've been doing. Like,
Yes.
And I'm just like, just do what you want.
Yeah,
It's
just do
great.
what you want. Yes. Actually, it's so funny because I already think of like retirement, which do you retire when you own your own like things?
See, the perspective I have on that, we unexpectedly lost my husband's dad
Yes.
a year before we got married, and he never made it to retirement. And that just has kind of shifted everyone's perspective in the family. Like, we're just all like, we're just going to do what we want because
Why wait?
life can be over in a second.
Absolutely.
So my goal when I started my business is I want to feel like I'm retired at 28.
Yeah.
And I do.
I love it.
I feel like I'm doing exactly what I want to do every
Yeah.
single day. And it's awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah. Live out your retirement.
Yeah. You're never too young to retire.
You are not. You are not. But you do have to pay your bills.
You do, yes.
Yeah.
Make sure you like pay your bills, pay your taxes, but live like you're retired because
I
it's
love
fun.
it. I love it. And I'm so glad now my audience gets to meet you because you just have been an inspiration to me. You are such an encourager. I think you're like, the sky's the limit. And it's crazy because it is so easy to encourage others, but still I got to see that vulnerability of the breakdown and then be like, we all need encouragers, right?
Yes.
Like, you need an encourager, even though I look at you and I'm like, I need you
Right.
to encourage me because, like, we're human And it's not like we're doing it not scared.
Right.
I am scared more than I'm not scared. I mean, honestly, like to do the next thing, to step out, to try something different. You take action scared.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
And I'm so blessed to have the clients that I do, because you guys have all been encouragers to me. Like every day I wake up and I go, I work with the coolest people, because I have you living out your dream. Literally all of my podcast clients are all people living out a dream in some way, shape, or form. And most of them are strong, independent women, which is like the best people to have cheering you on as I cheer them on.
Yes.
So it's very nice, like
it.
is it symbiotic relationship? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I dropped out of science to take pottery.
Yeah. Of course you did.
I had all my credits.
Oh my gosh. So for my birthday, you're going to make me
I can make you a
jewelry
very
dish?
thick coffee mug.
I love it.
Pretty much unusable.
There is nothing this girl can't do. Like I said, she's a yes person in such a good way. So yes, she'll try it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether she sticks to it, that can be different, but
We'll figure it out, man.
Everything's figure outable. So Abby, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks.
Before we leave, of course, you're a guest. And so I always like to send someone out with a little You Matter gift, because that's my love language. So who are you going to pick to be the recipient, and why?
I think I'm going to pick my sister, Natalie.
Okay.
She is just the coolest person. Love her to death. But she is truly the coolest person. She's the most supportive person. She's like the best gift giver, and she loves getting gifts too. So
Okay.
I think this would be a great fit for her. Plus, she is pregnant with her third child, and she has 2 girls in the house, and the third is on the way. So like she just needs
She could use a little.
she could use a little pick-me-up.
I love it.
Because being a mom is a lot, and she is
is.
great at it.
Oh.
And she deserves a gift for bringing my favorite humans into the world. So
Okay. Well, her 2 girls are adorable. Her oldest is definitely, I mean, her youngest is too young still to know what path she's going to be on, but her oldest records these videos, and that girl, there's some big things for her.
Oh, yeah. She will be
in the spotlight.
she will be ruling us all one day.
She is made for the spotlight, and I love it. I was like, there's your little Auntie Abby's mini me for sure.
My
There.
little Lila Joe.
Yes, she is so cute. So thank you for believing in me. And I don't know, you guys, if you have a burning in your heart of like, I've been talking about a podcast, but it always stops me, after the talking, where can they find you?
Best way to get a hold of me would probably be on Instagram. You can either reach me at Abby on Air or at The Small Town Tourist. I check both of them constantly. Or you could email me, abbygravesproductions@gmail.com.
All right, awesome. And I'll put those in the show notes as well. And check out her podcast. It is good. I love hearing people's stories and how they start things, and just especially in smaller areas, because it is really cool. So make sure you check out her podcast, give it a shout out, or share it with somebody. Even better. Sharing is always free. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Until next time, my friend. We'll see you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode today. Go ahead and check out my website, youmatterboutique.com. Also, if you want to follow more of me, head on to Instagram at youmatterbymegan. Until next time, my friends, we will see you later.
Thank you so much for checking out another episode of the Small Town Tourist podcast. I would love it if you would go follow the Megan May podcast and leave that one a rating and review as well. I am so proud of Megan and everything that she's doing with her show, and I just want her to expand her audience far and wide. So be sure you check out the Megan May podcast. All the details are in the show notes below. If you're looking for more content from the Small Town Tourist, you can always follow me at the Small Town Tourist on Instagram and on Facebook, and check out the blog thesmalltowntourist.com. I will catch you next week.